Hello everyone. So this is an Ari, and we've finally got new expansion, and of course new seasons come with it. So of course I'm going to do a six faction, six decks. I'll just start with like my quick preface to all this. If you've never watched one of my videos before, or you've never watched one of my six factions, six decks videos, basically this operates as like a these are the things I'm going to try this season. Um, you're welcome to try them out. This is kind of a hit some ideas if you're stuck on something to try or you're just looking for something new. This by no means is like a meta snapshot or me saying these are the best things around and you definitely need to play these. You'll win 100% of games. Nothing like that. Um, just kind of putting them out there. If you like the look of them, try them out. And even if you don't like the look of them, it might give you some ideas about something to try. So that's the general idea of these videos. The other thing is normally I just have them in the client, but as you can probably see from my resources, been a bit drained after this expansion. So I built four decks. So that's for Skellige, scoia'tael, Northern Realms, and monsters. But I was a little short on scraps for a Nilfgaard or a Syndicate deck. So I've pulled up a couple of lists that are kind of when I open a few more crates and play a few more games, I'll probably have enough resources to try out. So they'll be the first things I'm crafting in a few days. So they won't be in client, but I'll pull up the list to show you the list and go over that a bit. Um, and the last thing, just going to say quickly, as you can probably tell, I'm a bit of a small channel, so if you want to subscribe and see any of my future content, there'll be a lot more with Way of the Witcher out now. I would really appreciate that. And if you like this video, it really helps me out. It's YouTube's algorithm. It's beyond our comprehension, but all I know is it really helps me out if you like a video. So yeah, it's much appreciated if you do either of those or both. So enough begging. I'll get into the decks. So the first one is something you'll probably have seen already. If you played the last 24 hours, you'll have played against this. This is a Vi deck that's been floating around. This is one I built myself, but it really doesn't differ a whole lot from the lists other people are running. Some people are running like Royal Decrees, Prince Willems, things like that. But this is kind of the one that I tweaked and kind of made my own, I guess. But I'm sure somebody else will be running exactly the same thing somewhere. So the general idea, if you haven't played it, is it all revolves around Vi. Um, Comes out as an 8, gets shuffled back into your deck when it dies as an 11. When that happens again, comes out as an 11, goes in as a 14, and so on and so on. And so the idea is if you can be playing this quite a few times, this is going to get over 20 points, which is kind of ridiculous. Operates as a bit of a combo deck. So to facilitate this, we run an absolute ton of cards that pull big monsters out your deck. So we have an Aeromancy, we got Icarax, we've got Naglfar, we've got Matter to draw it into hand, we've got Alza's Double Cross, which will always hit Vi. We have Whispering Hillock, and we have Whisperess to get Whispering Hillock to get the Vi out. We also have Haunt to kind of synergize with the Death Wish kind of stuff you're doing. And that's really the point of the deck. There's not a whole lot to cover. Obviously, you have a very cheap bottom end to facilitate all of these like mid-price, mid-price golds. And I think the only piece of advice I can give on this deck is like you need to be careful when Vi's on the board. Because this deck doesn't really have like a plan B. If Vi is locked or is banished, you are absolutely ruined because your combo's dead and you haven't really got a fallback plan. Sure, you have Haunt, but Haunt's usually not enough points to kind of carry you through if Vi's been ruined. So yeah, definitely need to be careful. You want to be consuming it the turn it's coming down. So using your leader ability, using Barbagazi, using a Bargeist, using like the Desert Banshee out of Haunt, just something to basically get it back into your deck where it's relatively safe. And it kind of operates a little differently to most combo decks because you aren't just waiting for round 3 to do this. You can start doing this in round 1 or even round 2. to start ramping it up a bit because this lasts for the game. It's not just for the turn, for the round. Sorry. So the general idea is you can do this in round one, consume it. You can get like a 10 power unit from using your leader, and then going into round three, it's already got a couple of those buffs on it, and it's starting to really ramp up to be quite tall. So it's really nice in that you don't have to just get by in round one for your big round three finish. It benefits all your rounds in effect. So you can see why people are complaining about it. I personally don't think it's a broken deck. I think the current state of the meta means that a point slam deck like this is going to really benefit because everyone's trying new stuff. Not too many people are running sort of big toll removal, so things like Karathis and stuff are a lot less common because people are just trying out new cards. So it's going to benefit at the moment, but we'll definitely have to see if this sort of sticks as the weeks go on through the seasons and into next season and so on. But definitely worth trying now. It's very strong at the moment, but not unbeatable by any means. So the next one is Nilfgaard, which is a list by Shinmiri. I'm sure you'll have heard of him. He does like a lot of the what's the word for it? The official like tournaments and things like that. Does a lot of casting and is has a big stream in his own right. I watch him on and off, and this was a list that I saw him running yesterday. He was running a Masquerade Ball lockdown list, and it is a no fun allowed kind of list. Lockdown, loads of poisons, and yeah, this is probably what I'm going to try because I just love playing lockdown. It's so fun stopping your opponent doing anything. So this list isn't too different to the typical Masquerade Ball list that have been running around for seasons upon seasons. The difference is it's just been kind of upgraded for the new season. So Nausicaa Sergeants have been reduced to 4 provisions now that Portal's been changed. So that's obviously a bonus. 5 provisions weren't really worth it. Probably pretty good now at 4. You have new cards like Ivar. So Ivar's really, really good because it's not just operating like toll removal, you're also benefiting from your opponent having a toll unit for you to steal the points from. So really, really good. And arguably basically a new card now, Leo Bonhart. So Leo was never played before, well, barely played before because it was basically vanilla Geralt, but a little bit more expensive, which kind of doesn't seem that good. But now that there's so many witches in the game, and especially the fact that there's a lot of witches in the game now that are kind of the linchpin of decks, a lot of like very high provision witches, he's a lot more viable because before the only good targets for Leo to remove with the Destroy a Witcher thing was like Ciri Dash, Ciri Nova, and that's kind of all I can think of to be honest. So now that he actually has good targets that people are actually running, it's a lot better. So yeah, if you milled him a couple of months ago when he was basically unplayed, you're probably kicking yourself now. But yeah, he's finding a home now. And one of the other new cards is Viper Witcher Alchemist, which is look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put one on top, swap top card of your opponent's deck with yours, and this is kind of a mess about kind of thing. Swipe something of your opponent's, put it on top of your deck. Easy job. You can then know what's on top of your deck for Joachim to play out. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't run 2 of these, but it lets you mess with your opponent. Like what's not to like? So yeah, nothing too new. You know, you're doing your Masquerade Ball, your Usurper, Yenver for removal, a couple of Aristocrats to activate Masquerade Ball. Nothing too unbelievable, but definitely upgraded for the new season. So the next one is deck I've been playing the most, which is Northern Realms Shield Wall. But don't worry, this isn't like abusing the dueling mechanic with like Varaxis and Selkirk. We do have an Anseus, but can't run Shield Wall without Anseus. It's too good. But this is kind of something I came up with. General idea was okay, we'll look at Shield Wall, strip away a lot of the diversion aspects and the reliance on duels, and look at some of the new cards and see what kind of fits quite nicely. And so this is kind of what I settled on. A lot of reliance on Visigota and Cohen. Um, I won't go too in depth on this deck. My video before this one, I did like a sort of bit more in depth on the list, and there's a couple of games in there. So if you like the look of this and you want to try it out, that's literally the video before this one on my channel. So yeah, give that a look if you like the look of the deck. And this is really just a lot of the cards you'll have seen before, so like Amphibious Assault, Anseus, Donomir, Anna, a lot of the sort of core that you see in like 90% of Northern Realms decks because they're just ridiculously good. But the sort of win condition of the deck is more Visigota, Cohen, and Erland is also there as a nice point slam. So the general idea of the combo is you're looking for Visigota to stick and get a lot of buffs on, get a lot of charges, sorry, to apply buffs. And Cohen, you can sort of choose what point level you want to get Cohen up to then boost all your other units. I typically found that 5, 6, 7 power on Cohen is usually sort of best and most optimal. But you can see for yourself. Any higher and you're probably being a bit ambitious, and at 4, like, if that's all you can do, fair enough, but it's not super impactful. The only thing you do need to watch out for is it will also buff your opponent's units. So things like Griffin Witcher to ping them, or basically any of your other damage cards, so things like Egmont, particularly nice to just make sure that nothing really lines up with Cohen when you decide to pop it. So my initial concern with this was, okay, what happens when you have Visigota? And this actually happened in a game, so it was pretty good sort of information for me going forward with this deck. Visigota got bled out from me. I had Cohen going into round 3, and I was still able to, through the use of drummers and Anna, get 5 units up to 5 power, and then I was able to play Cohen, use a shield wall charge, get up to 5, and boost all of them by 2, which onto 5 units, it's 10 power of boost on top of the 3 power unit. So that's 13 points for 7, which that's gold territory. So that's not too bad at all. One of the last things to look out for as well is Erland. So you want to be playing this quite late on. I wasn't sure how you'd want to play this initially. Didn't know whether you want to be boosting all your units, kind of like an All God, or whether you're using it as a finisher. And I found it works quite well as a finisher. So you want to be playing this with immunity, just so it's completely safe from removal. And you can then take all the boosts from your deck and put them onto Erland. And this obviously ties up with Seren, his actual deploy. And cards like Griffin, Witch, and Mentor are quite good because you can draw a card, boost it by 2, and then put it straight back into the deck if it's a card you don't want. And it's not wasted points because Erland will just take them. I know that some people have been playing Arch Griffin with Erland because that keeps the boost. But I kind of didn't want to go all in on Erland. That wasn't really the point of the deck. This was just a consistent high points unit that doesn't really require any setup, and it seemed to do quite well. I was really happy with this list, so yeah, I'd highly recommend trying it out. So next up we have scoia'tael. So I wanted to try out some of the row movement stuff that CDPR have been pushing a little bit. So we'll go too in depth on this because again you've probably seen this one. It's a lot of row movement stuff and a lot of stuff that benefits from filling your opponent's rows, filling your own rows. So things like Gaitan, Gezrus, and we're even running a Dragon's Dream. So if you haven't seen this card, because not really played a whole lot, at the start of your opponent's turn, when timer expires, damage all units in a row by 3. So in 3 turns, everything's going to get hit by 3. And you have a lot of ways to get things onto the same row. So that's the general plan. Get your Dragon's Dream down, get everything on the same row, deal a lot of damage. Now, if you think this is a bit too all in, you can just cut this for like a lacerate, be a few less points, but it's what it is. And you've got 4 provisions to use elsewhere. The one thing I would warn you with this deck is you don't really like short rounds, mainly because cards like Gaitan and Gezris really aren't that good if you don't have many units on the board. So you can end up with these cards literally playing for 6 points, which for 12 provisions, you do not want to be playing this for 6 points. So that's the general idea. Stack your opponent's rows, stack your own rows, benefit from cards that benefit from stacked rows. There's a few lists like this, much with the same ideas floating about, so definitely different variants you can try, and definitely some flexibility in the cards you run. Like, for example, Brehen, like some people are running this. I'm trying it out at the moment. I think it's quite good. Definitely the Dragon's Dream is questionable. Little memey, but it's what I wanted to try. So next we have Skellige. So Skellige, it's very similar in terms of like playstyle to the warrior decks that you'll have obviously seen basically since Master Mirror came out. But we're not running the sort of warrior package of Harold or anything like that. What we're more relying on is getting damage units on the board, so both your own and your opponents, and then using cards like Bear Witch Mentor and Arnagad to really benefit from those damage units. I am running a dagger, but this is probably because of my bias towards the card. Really like dagger. If you just wanted more control, you could just run something like a Hjalmar, or you could, find a provision somewhere, run like a wild boar. That would work really well. I'm currently running a dagger, but this isn't set in stone by any means. Definitely change this up. So in terms of the game plan, you're just setting up damage units and then playing the cards that benefit from damage units. Arnagad is a particular standout card because this is doing more than just dealing 7 damage to whatever your opponent plays. Because later on in the game, right at the end of round 3, your opponent's really looking to play the cards that are going to finish you off. And Arnagad can basically kill most cards. There's not many cards that are going to come down above 8 power. So there's something like a Sienna it'll kill. It'll kill pretty much all of the faction evolving cards. So really, really good in terms of stopping your opponent from whatever they're trying to do. And if you can get damage units on the board and get armor onto it, this is going to happen several times. So it's not just going to stop one thing, it can stop several things. Especially if that armor value gets particularly high. Obviously, this is susceptible to things like Karathi, but it is what it is. If Karathi comes down on Arnagad, then your dagger isn't going to get hit, so no complaints there. And then we have the bread and butter cards of like Morkvarg, Hemdall, Svalbard Totem, Babylon, Champion's Charge, the usual stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing this deck. I only got to play about 3 games of it yesterday, but it seemed to do pretty well. Dagger's probably questionable, but I stand by it. I stand by it. So the last one is a syndicate list I found. This one's by Wetaf. I probably really butchered that name. Sorry if I have. But this is kind of similar to something I've seen floating about. Wasn't too sure what direction I wanted to take it in. So this is sort of an example one. I'll obviously link this one below, but there's definitely sort of tweaks you can make on the like bronze end of stuff. Definitely, for example, like I've seen people running double failed experiment, running what's the name of it? Abominations. There's a few directions you can take it, but the general idea is you're benefiting from tributes and poisoning your own stuff, and because you have a lot of poisons, you naturally have a lot of removal. Something you could definitely consider is running a Kalkstein, just so you can purify your own poisoned units to then poison them again, if that makes sense. Obviously, because you have cards like Gellert who are poisoning your allied cards multiple times to in effect boost them up, and if you can then remove the poison to do it all again, you're only going to benefit from that. You also have Salamander, which is really cool card. Poisons every unit on the board, so I do definitely want to try something like this with Sienna. Like 100%, I'm going to have something going with Sienna with this. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. But this seems really, really interesting, especially if you can set multiple units up poison for your opponent and then just wipe the board with Salamander. Be really satisfying. You've also got Fallen Railer, who can be given Veil through the tribute, and because Salamander has such an expensive tribute, it will be 8 because of off the books. Fallen Railer will be boosted by 8, provided you're playing it later on, of course. So that's a really nice combo. I also want to say, like, the artwork on this expansion has been really good. Just looking at Fallen Railers, then it's just incredible. And like Field Experiment, so good. Getting distracted. But yeah, they did a really good job on the art. So yeah, these have been the 6 I'm going to be trying out. All of these lists will be in the description. Let me know how you get on, and I will catch you in the next one.